Yeah, great question. What do I mean by injecting hospitality everywhere? Because we know hospitality, or we think of, most of us think about hospitality in the construct of a third place. In other words, a place that's not job, that's not home, but it's a third place. It's a place you hang. And there's hospitality, in other words, to overly simplify it, service. You get service, you get product, there's a transaction, and that's it. Everyone goes back to their silo. But that's not hospitality, is it really? You gotta look, even if you're those too many unfortunate people that maybe grew up in an environment that didn't have the true heart of hospitality, for so many variables, so much pressure on parents, so much pressure on everything. Everyone's got pressure. We're too pressurized. And that's where hospitality comes in. Hospitality is nurturing. It's never about the product. Rarely ever about the product. I've always, for 30 years, I've used the example of McDonald's. Does not make the best burger. And it's not like it's a cheap burger even anymore. That used to be one of the main reasons to eat that kind of food, which I grew up loving. And don't get me wrong, but it now, as I'm older and my mechanics are slowing down, it doesn't feel so good when you eat a bag of Doritos and a Big Mac, right? Loving it. I loved it, but so disappointing. And it's changed, right? It's gone like, they took cheap and found a way to make it cheaper, like always making it cheaper, never better, just cheaper. But still, it's not that anymore. So now you're paying whatever you're paying. And so someone figured out that if you put the prices up and you automate as much as possible, you will have control of the market supply and be able to fix that, so you can't afford carrots. So now you're back to the more expensive, cheap version of anything without any hospitality. Because the mechanics of running traditional hospitality and thinking, like, bars, clubs, restaurants, cafes, doesn't actually fit in that box. And I know this because I've been through a lot of iterations of it. But it wasn't until even after 3 decades of being in hospitality, it didn't occur to me really to not that long ago, probably about the time I was 40, so maybe like 8 years ago, that hospitality in some form lives everywhere. But when you take something that's traditionally clinical and you start to shake it up, shout out Patch Adams, Robbie baby, love ya, miss ya. But that's hospitality. And if you haven't seen the film or know the story or read the book, Patch Adams, you gotta. But there's many case studies. And so far more than enough to prove, systems work more fairly when hospitality is considered. And we put it in companies often to HR, but HR just got underfunded and in many cases disappeared. So now it's kind of moving into the conversation where it's closer, which is culture. What is the culture of your company? And we hear that, and we've heard that, and kind of everyone says they do that, but when you get into it and you hear the stories of those that live it, the math doesn't add up, right? So if there's anyone that's watching this or listening this, any advice on personal business, anything, inject hospitality, become hospitality, which is the nurturing. It's about you, but it's not just about you. There's a +1 involved, right? And that's like It's the little things. It's taking the time. And from what I'm seeing all around the world, as it's more pressurized, that hospitality is becoming more robotic. The people, humans, are doing the work that they shouldn't have to be doing, so that they have more time to inject a level of moments with the people that walk through their doors, whether it's an office or it's an airport or it's in anything. It's greeting. It's taking that moment for you, where it is all about you. And we of hospitality have always been the largest supporters of charities, for a lack of a better term. We are the most charitable, okay? And we have the least to share. We have 10 points on our investment, sweat equity not included, if we're lucky, right? So that's not right. You know, just like farmers being squeezed, SMFs, small medium farms, you know, that's not right. So we know what's not right for a long time, and you can see the inherent pushback, the obvious pushback that's happening. You know, fairness, it's moving, you know, fairness and to greed is a spectrum. And we've just kind of seemed to be woken up. We're woke. I've never used that word. I still don't really understand that word. I gotta look more into that word. I don't care. Whatever. Call it, label it what you want. Use your verbal communication skills. I'll keep using my frequency skills. And because that semantics are so difficult for me, because they never have enough context. And the hospitality between the layers of the semantics are so important. You gotta anticipate, because you have to become those that you serve, and you have to understand that. And the reason that politics don't work, and we're in this squeeze of this rusted wheel, and exhausted on this rusted wheel, then we'll understand that it's because we're not taking care of each other. And hospitality is all about taking care of each other. So inject that, keep that going, keep that alive, and keep being served and keep serving. Be fair.